It's so heartwarming to see the kind of impact we're creating just, at this conference. It's just not a conference. It's really connecting lives. It's really empowering each other. And this is just a perfect example of that. So since we're short on time, Gabriel, we would have to end with this talk, but we can't let go
All
of you as yet. We can't let go of you as yet because something very interesting has happened, and I think Joseph and Gabriel, both of you have already shared. Um, and I'm also really excited to reiterate that, today it's going to be a new beginning for Jed and Gabriel's foundation, as both of them really collaborate for creating a massive impact. So many congratulations. So I would, without further ado, I would invite, Gabriel's already here. I would want to invite Joseph so that, we could sign the MOU and as well as talk about the synergies and vision of this partnership. Joseph.
Yeah, Abby.
Yes, hi, Joseph.
Yeah.
So Joseph and Gabriel, how did this partnership really come about? What's been the synergies like?
Okay, while Joseph is connecting, I'll just answer that. So basically, this all started with UNCTAD, right? This all started with UNCTAD 15. We met because we all were connecting. I see. Oh, hi, Ashley. Ashley's here as well. Ashley was a part of one of the facilitators and part of the youth forum as well. Hey, girl. So I was to see you and meet you, to meet you in person. So we all met because of UNCTAD 15, and we were all working on the youth declaration together. So basically, that's how it all started. So we all created a WhatsApp group to work on the declaration together. And then, we just recognized that we all had synergies for education because we were in the education group. So we all had synergies for education. And that's how it got started. Just, conversations, like, for example, Ashley and I, we connected also on social media as well. So we follow each other on social media, had conversations on WhatsApp. And that's what led to brainstorming how we could work together. Okay, Joseph is here, so I'll hand over to him and he can, talk about it from his end as well.
Yeah, Gabriel, I think you have said it all, and I think I'm still celebrating with you over your independence. I think your country is the youngest country in the world now. Congratulations to you. And yeah, it was through the UNCTAD that we got to meet each other. And I've really got to know a lot about Gabriel, and I've also got to know a lot about Barbados. At least I know they have wonderful seas, very good seafood, and quite a lot of things. So the partnership came with during the UNCTAD, and we were in the same crew. And then Gabriel had the passion. She had a passion to impact lives, and I could connect to someone who shared a similar passion. It was like wow. I could just look up to Gabriel because I was so wowed by her. And when I read her profile, she started at 14. I was like, I'm still far away and have not done anything at all. So, and that is where it all started. And I'm so happy it's growing into something wonderful. I'm so happy it's coming to this, and we just hope it really impacts a lot of life as we hope it does.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So just one more question for both of you. So since this partnership is coming along, what's the vision for this partnership like? Like what discussions both of you have on the way forward? So yeah.
You go ahead, Joseph. I did a lot of talking, so I'll answer after you.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's beautiful. If Gabrielle said I should go, at least she's a beautiful lady. Let me follow the beautiful ones. Yeah. So, what we are looking at in the partnership is that we want to create more opportunities for the African child to have intercultural dialogue, because we don't want to limit it to mentorship only from Africa. We want to give them the opportunity to receive mentorship from over there in the Caribbean, from Barbados, from other countries. We want them to be able to grow, to evolve, so that they can be able to help Africa, so that Africa can be better, that Africa can further develop, and so that the African child can really stand up to compete with other children from all over the world. And the partnership, we are looking at a lot of things, and we have already made a draft about it. And I think we are also looking at a lot of. Let Gabrielle let her expand more. I think we're good. So.
Okay, so as Joseph said, that is one of the main priorities. You know, the African child has been disenfranchised in many ways, and that we can relate to here in the Caribbean. You know, both countries essentially just being terrorized with the transatlantic slave trade and all the economic and, you know, fallout that came from that, which then of course has impacted education, because at the end of the day, we are now seeking to recover after, you know, 500-600 years of essentially not having a head start. So we're essentially 500 or 600 years behind. And as I referenced earlier, with regards to our, you know, region, CARICOM, and our passion for reparations, part of that is connecting with Africa and ensuring that we can have an exchange of, you know, knowledge and exchange of resources as well too, to institute a better future going forward. And no other resource, and I'm biased, as you guys know, because I love education. So I am biased towards education. There is no other resource that is as important as education, because education is the nucleus, you know, from whence everything flows. If you really think about it, if we educate our boys and girls, then we then, you know, equip them to lead countries, we equip them to create public policy, we equip them to be even better philanthropists, because education goes directly hand in hand with awareness. As we say colloquially, when you know better, you do better, right? So that is the idea of the partnership. And as I said, with the CARICOM Reparations Commission, one of our main points is to connect with Africa. And that is what we're seeking to do, because even here in the Caribbean, you'll be surprised, even though we came from Africa, so many of our young people know nothing about it besides what they see on, you know, television. And I do believe that Africa is not accurately represented for all the knowledge, for all the potential, you know, for all of the fantastic and brilliant minds that simply need a chance to be discovered. There is so much beauty in Africa. There is so much potential, and we want to highlight that. And we want to ensure that these minds and that potential is recognized, while also bringing that education, bringing that history, bringing that culture, you know, bringing those resources as well too from Africa here to the Caribbean as well, via education and via our projects, which would be the essay competition, the reading program, and also the law program that we will be collaborating on together.
I think the fact that both of you have really emphasized that, you know, how education is really the key, and not and the fact that education is everywhere. Education is every moment. Even right now, partnership is based on. So I'm sure all of us are very excited for this partnership going forward. So without further ado, why don't we sign the MOU right now? Joseph? So Joseph, can we proceed with it? Oh, he's actually having network issues. Let's just wait for a minute. All right, I think the much awaited event of signing the MOU would have to wait for some more time. But till the time being, we can all probably take just a 3 minutes break. I think Joseph is back. Let's just wait for a few seconds. Joseph, can you hear me?
Yeah, I am so sorry. In my next word, I will not be a Nigerian. I've been struggling with the network actually, and I think I'm back.
That's okay. That's okay. I think what really matters is how we are really connected, irrespective of our challenges. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, where are we, Abby?
So can we proceed with the signing of the MOU now?
Yes, yes. Has Gabriel talked about the MOU, and have you talked about it?
Should we read it out?
Gabriel, what do you think?
Yes, definitely like the first like 2 paragraphs or so that just individuals who are listening could have an idea exactly what we intend to do. So probably list like the first 2 paragraphs or whatnot would be fine.
So why don't you start, Gabriel?
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to read it out for you guys. So give me 1 second. Let me get it situated. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, great. So let me turn on my camera. Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. I'm not sure if I can screen share. Let me see if I can.
You should be able to screen share now.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. You guys let me know if you can see. You should be able to see it.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, fantastic. I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit. Okay, great. So basically, as you can see here, we are the Jed Foundation, Child Trust Foundation, and the Erline Bradshaw Charity Foundation on this phenomenal third day of December 2021. We are committing, I'm just going to paraphrase as we go along. We are committing to just create a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with regards to what we are going to do together. So the EBF is a registered Barbadian charity organization with global impact and reach, and the Jed Child Trust Foundation is a nonprofit organization registered as well, committed to helping all African children receive equal education opportunities. So firstly, as we would have discussed earlier, we are going to institute the Gabriel David Gay Prize. So with regards to this is going to be in honor of the Erline Bradshaw Foundation. I don't know if I mentioned, but the foundation is named after my grandmother, who was such a paragon for education in Barbados and just around Barbados and around the country. She was such a force to ensure that other individuals outside of her family as well were educated. So that's why it's called the Erline Bradshaw Foundation. And it's going to be an annual prize. And as much as possible, we are going to hope at least every 5 years to be able to come on down in person and administer the prize. But for sure, it's going to be an annual event. And this is obviously mutual, and we are going to be doing this together for the children. So scrolling on down, as I would have spoken about in my initial speech, we are focusing on the SDG of zero hunger. This is something that is very important and it's a pivotal priority in Africa. And, it's my belief that children function better in school when they are well fed and they're well rested. And this is going to help us institute for the first time the SDG of zero hunger, where we are going to institute a lunch fund and reduce hunger in African children in the rural areas as well as the suburban areas as well. So we're also going to work together with regards to youth-led NGO work. So, Jed Child Trust Foundation will be our eyes and ears in Nigeria. And we're also going to work with regards to the Femlux cohort program in Nigeria, as we would have spoken about earlier as well, to help young law students, female law students who are challenged due to inequality and finance to be able to access the, the finance and resources and other factors that they need. I'm uncertain where the scribble came from. It's very interesting. Okay, I'm not certain what happened there. But basically, the key is also to financially support Jed with our resources as well, and to also provide technical assistance as well too. So basically, that is what we are doing. That is what we hope to achieve with Jed. And it's going to be mutually beneficial. It's going to be beneficial for the Erline Bradshaw Foundation in that we help to, we're going to assist young people in Africa, young women, and also students of all genders in Africa as well. And then there's also an exchange of resources and knowledge for children and students in Barbados and across the Caribbean, as Jed will also do their part to ensure that it's a mutually beneficial foundation for all. So that is the MOU as well. So I hope that that was enlightening. Anyone who has any questions or queries or comments even can do so now.
I think what's interesting is that even the MOU wants you to
Oh
sign
yes,
it.
the MOU is very
So
excited. I am really uncertain. I think it's signing. I was trying to sign it, but
that's why probably you're scribbling.
got a little excited. They're very excited for this partnership. And clearly this is an indication to definitely get started. So I'm going to just pause my share right now while we get that sorted. But any questions and queries about the MOU or just comments, we will take now.
Hi, Gabriel. Hi, Joseph. Anurag here. I think it's a great initiative that you guys have taken, and also with the collaboration that you guys are going to have, is certainly going to put in a lot of effort towards solving this problem of education and also the other objectives that you have stated. But also on the same front, it will be really great. I mean, it's just a suggestion kind of thing that I'm giving. Maybe over the social media, obviously you guys will be setting up, and you also have a website. So on that, if you also talk about the initiatives and also engage more people into that, so big objectives are there in our front, then also putting it in small objectives and then trying to reach up with to a lot of people and a lot of kids, and then putting out their messages. I think that will be a really good thing.
Anurag, I think this is the first time we're e-meeting as well, like live. And we met at UNCTAD 15 as well, guys. For everyone that's watching, this is another one of the UNCTAD 15 youth crew as well. So it's such a pleasure, Anurag, to meet you finally in person and live in action as well too. So what we can do as well, Joseph, is that we can just add our verbal signatures right now to the MOU. Thank you, Caleb. And sure, Odu, I'm gonna put the website and the link to how you can donate, or also just add resources as well too in the chat shortly. So Joseph, what I'm going to do as well, since technology is being technological, I will just add my verbal agreement, and which of course is also very legal as well too. But of course we will sign it afterward as well too, in person with our actual signatures. But I just want to make it clear right now and have a huge announcement, and give my word and our foundation's word that we are definitely signing the MOU. And we have sent already, and Joseph can attest to this, we have actually already sent the prizes for the essay competition. The award for the essay competition has been donated and sent already. Joseph, just put his yay emoji and his congrats emoji. So yes, we have sent it already, you guys, even before the conference, even before I tell people I talk a lot, but my action is way more than I talk. We are very much an action-oriented foundation. So we've already sent the prizes and whatnot. So you can rest assured that we are doing our part with the MOU. And I'm sure, Joseph, you can chime in to also verbally give your signature and your agreement as well.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Sorry. Yes, Joseph.
Go ahead, Abby, go ahead.
And sure that this is going to go a very long way in furthering the ripples that will create a world where no child is left. Thanks to both the parties. So we're gonna be soon having the most awaited event, the panel discussion. But before that, let's probably take a quick break of around 3 to 5 minutes. Please stay tuned in. See you in a few minutes. Joseph, the videos are not audible.
Has been featured in multiple. Gabrielle Gay is an avid reader by profession. At the tender age of 5, she had read most of the beloved classics, for example, Jane Austen, Mark Twain, Robert Louis Stevenson, Baroness M. Muska Orczy, the royal readers, etc. By the age of 10 years old, she captivated the nation with her logical and intelligent opinion on the Voice of Barbados call-in program Thomas on Thursday, hosted by Thomas Tom Fields, where she was fondly known as Tom's Gabby, later being honored as the Outstanding Child of the Year, on VOB 92.9 FM. She also was active in her church activities at this young age, preaching at various churches throughout the island and singing with her church's Hosanna Chorale. Gabrielle has been featured in multiple 30 Under 30 lists, and honored in publications such as the Permanent Mission of Barbados to the World Trade Organization and the United Nations, Loop News, Barbados Today and the Nation newspapers. She has been chosen as a key media influencer by international entities such as the United Nations, Disney, the World Trade Organization, the Central Bank of Barbados, Fox News Network, Digicel, and many more. She documents her work on Instagram and social media, reaching over 200,000 people weekly. She intends to continue promoting literacy, leading and revolutionizing education for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Gabrielle Gay.
I'm a teacher in this school. And as a teacher, I'm here not because the government is taking care of us as they should. I'm doing it because I have the passion to teach the children. That's what is keeping me as a teacher. If we continue to look at the government, I may resign. But because I have the passion to see that these children come out human beings in the future, that's what is keeping me here. And on your side, I thank God for bringing you people, because as you people said, there are so many children that's out of school because of poverty, because of other conditions. But God just brought you people to come and help. I pray that God will help you people carry out all your intentions, all your good intentions, so that these poor people will have access to education like other people. Like some children who goes to school in town, they have everything. As a child, you must have your reader, you must have every requirement, all the materials that you need to learn. But those of them in the local school like this, they don't have even pen to write with. Not to talk of having textbooks that they need. Having textbook, no child in my class will present, this is my textbook for English and Maths. But God brought you so that you will help them achieve their end. So that at the end, they will come out as proper, furnished human beings. And this state will be blessed. Thank you.
My name is Mr. Uchi Ruchu. I'm a teacher here in Basic 5. I think being a teacher is a call from God. And as a teacher, you have to be endurable, you have to have patience. Then there are certain things you have to endure. Then on this premise, I'm thanking you people at least for coming to this school. Like what we are lacking so many things here, like on the side of instructional materials. You know, with instructional materials, a learner or pupil can be able to, a teacher don't have much work. Once you have instructional materials, when you place this on them, they can be able to identify them depending on the topic you are teaching them one by one. So please, with this effect, I'm pleading on you people to at least help us, particularly on the side of instructional materials. And though in Nigeria there are so many NGOs here that I won't start mentioning names, but they've not come to this area before. But with your involvement here, I think there will be a headway. Thank you very much.
I'm a teacher in this school. I love to teach. That's my career. Then on your own side, when I heard of this program, I was very happy. So I'm now asking God to help you people. But you have started so that you will continue to do inside the end to help these children. Like in my class, I have many of them. So this program, you know that these people, these children, they will be all good.
Are you ready for the biggest online conference? Jed Child Trust Online Conference 2021. The theme is Equal Access to Quality Education for Every African Child, a Panacea for a Better Africa. The date is Friday, 3rd December 2021. The time is 12 o'clock noon. Speakers and panelists: Joseph, Ben Moon, Thompson, Ashley, Benro, Lukani, Kayode, Apa, Pawnee, Anurag, and many more. Don't miss out. Be a part of this conference. Register now at www.jedchildtrust.org/conference. Go through the form below. Fill in your name, email, phone number, address, country.
In the link.
So,
As this historic conference culminates, let us now gear up for a dialogue that will bring all the puzzle pieces together. So hold on to your seats as we dive into a panel discussion on the topic, equal access to quality education for every African child, a panacea for a better Africa. And it is with immense pleasure that I would like to introduce our panelists for today that you already saw in the teaser video. First, I'd like to introduce Parneet. She's represented India this year in the UNCTAD forum. She's a young, passionate individual who wants to create large-scale impact by pursuing the path of international diplomacy. Parneet, it's a pleasure to have you here on board today. Thank you so much for sparing your time. We have Ashley. We have Ashley here as well. She's a social impact consultant who's leading multiple projects in development sector. Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us today. We also have Anurag, who also wants to pursue the path of government administration and dreams of large-scale influence for creating greater good for others. Thank you so much, Anurag, for being here with us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me, Abhay. Thank you.
And last but not the least, we have Kayode. He is a farmer by profession, a very humble personality who really wants to create grassroots impact to eradicate hunger and also do something for the climate. So a huge round of applause for all the panelists.
thank you.
So very interestingly, we have touched upon many aspects already in this conference. You know, we've talked about quality education, we've talked about access, we've talked about critical challenges. We have also talked about certain very related issues like child trafficking and slavery. That's also becoming a very major bottleneck in a very holistic approach to education. But I think there's a need for us to sort of restart the discussion with the basics, you know, and the basics mean defining education. So what does it really mean? What does it really mean by quality education? And, you know, what does it really mean? What does quality education really mean in the African context? I think that's the real question. So Paneet, I would request you to elaborate on the same.
I would love to take this up because when we talk about quality education, especially, it becomes very important to think about it in terms of African context. And in the African context, I think that we really need to decolonize the education system, and we have to emphasize on the indigenous African information and knowledge system. So there are some statistics that I would like to share with you guys here. The literacy rate in sub-Saharan Africa is 65.47% at the moment. And the world's most illiterate countries, 4 of them, the top 4 are in Africa itself. So if we look at these statistics, we need to realize that where does the problem lie? Does it lie in the fact that there is lack of accessibility and lack of, the lack of compatibility between the education system that was being imparted by the Britishers and then thrusted upon the African system? Or whether you have to, structurally look at this problem. And if I have to think about it, I think that we have to think about it in terms of the sustainable developmental goals. The way they have been, like, first we have no poverty, then second we have zero hunger, and then we have good health and well-being. I think we have to focus on the first 3 ones in order to go and achieve the quality education aspect of it. And the solution to first 2 problems would be the introduction of the midday meal scheme, which is very popular in India, and it has revolutionized the education system as well. I think that is one of the models that I would like that the African government should take into action and should implement. Thank you.
Yes, I think you've really touched upon the basics of quality education. Quality education is not just quality education in itself, it also encompasses the other goals. There's no quality education if we can't at the same time take care of poverty or hunger. And at the same time, in fact, achieving quality education will also mean so many partnerships, for instance. So I think that's a very important point you've brought forth. And a very interesting example you've given of midday meal schemes that are a success in India. Ashley, what's your take on what Parneet just shared?
So basically, I'm in agreement with her about what quality education should look like in Africa, but also looking at it from probably the point of view of being in Africa and having learned learned in Africa itself. One of the things that I feel like encompasses really does encompass quality education is the relevance, and that's one of the things that we are really struggling with as Africans, is how do we make our education relevant to what is happening across the world right now? How do we make our education relevant to the people who are studying probably in the US, in the UK, in the broader parts of the world, and make sure that our students, our children are globally competitive at the end of the day. Global quality education also comes, when you look at it full circle, it also comes down to the educational value chain. So our quality education is as a result of good financing, is as a result of making sure that systems are working. It's as a result of making sure that the people dispensing the education are also well educated, and not just people who are trying to sort of like try out a career that they haven't studied for or they're not qualified in. And also making sure that children are taught in a manner that will help them understand and actually absorb the kind of information that they need to absorb at the end of the day. So that also touches on the literacy levels, of course, in Africa. And the literacy levels are just basically because of not having enough infrastructure to be able to accommodate all these children at the same time. When you're having one child, or when you're having like probably 200 children taught by one teacher, then you're not creating a space for them to be able to sort of like have that individualized attention from the teachers. And at the end of the day, it basically means that they don't get the education that they require to get, even though the materials that are being used are good and are relevant. At the end of the day, it's whoever is dispensing the information that matters in terms of making sure that these children get education that will be relevant and will be of good quality for them, not just for now, but even for the future.
I think what beautifully really comes from the perspective of both of you is that it's so wonderful to take any inspiration from what's really happening around the world, and at the same time the next step really is that step that we cannot forget is putting that inspiration in the right context. How can that inspiration be really implemented for another region? A lot of thought also needs to go there. Do you agree, Anurag? What's your take on that?
No, I completely agree with what just Ashley and Parneet mentioned. But also, I mean, I would just like to add one more point. And I think they touched upon this point here and there. But mostly we were talking in terms of input to the quality education, right? The number of kids in one class, also at the same time, the infrastructure and other things. But also we should look at from a very output perspective, that what is the output of a quality education, right? Mostly we are here talking about Africa, but if you just look at the whole developing world, the output becomes really, really important. That what these kids have to do, they have to learn some basic life skills, employability skills. So that must be the whole purpose. And I mean, it's to our surprise that here we are basically discussing quality education, because our people are trying to get school enrollment. I mean, most of our kids are in schools. That's a very good news maybe 70%, 80%, 90%, depending on the region. But just enrollment is not equal to functional literacy or numeracy for that purpose. So what is happening in this whole process, that somehow we are missing that indigenization of the whole education based on the societal needs of the local communities, how we should, what kind of education we need to impart them so that they learn some kind of employability skills. So I think that is also one major aspect that we should keep in mind while defining the quality education, right? I hope everyone agrees. If any comments, please go ahead.
I think you've really touched upon a very fundamental point that actually goes back to what Praneet shared. Uh, I think a very strong point indeed. It's also the kind of metrics that we set when we're, because if you can't measure something, you can't really understand if that's going to be a success or not, right? And what really matters is, what are the metrics you're setting for measuring that success? Is it just how many people are there in a class, or is it really um, or can we somehow also come closer to more quality oriented variables or metrics that can actually be like, how many children are really happy in class? If teachers could take responsibility of ensuring the emotional development of a child, if that's something that's really possible. So really changing the definition there as well. What do you think, Pandit? Is that required?
Yeah, I think that like Anurag and Ashley, they are stressed on the idea that we should, focus more on vocal training. I would say practical education. And I think that especially in the context, in the COVID, in the not post-COVID, it's actually the third wave is there. So in the COVID-19 context, I think that the governments can really use this opportunity to revolutionize the education system and make more resilient and capable education systems, right? So if we look at the current scenario and the statistics about by 2050, about one out of by 2050, one out of two Africans in this age, in the under the age of 25, there'll be one out of two Africans who would constitute the youth. So I think that investments in this sector, in education sector especially, are going to be a fruitful thing for African governments, and especially the UNICEF and the African Union Commission. They've appealed to all African governments to seize this opportunity and to invest very wisely, because at this time I would say that pushing in for stimulating responses and stimulating investments in this sector, and especially towards the indigenization, like Anurag stressed, I think that is going to help strengthen the education system in Africa.
I think we've come from defining education to how can we really implement that definition, and what role different stakeholders play, be it governments, teachers, or different organizations, the kind of roles all of us can really play in sort of achieving this goal of quality education. So Kayode, would you like to elaborate on that?
Good day, everyone. So I'm sorry I couldn't use the video because I'm on transit, so I don't want to. So I think you all have said my mind. So the issue of education and quality education could be tackled from the poverty perspective. So like Panit said, she said, if you want to tackle education and want to look at quality education, you must also look at other United Nations goal of zero hunger, because you can't just put an hungry child in a class and expect a good outcome from the child, or expect the child to learn. So the issue of poverty and education is a global issue. It also happens in the UK, where during the COVID-19 pandemic, where children who are at home, we are not giving who don't really have access to food. We are not giving food. Where I think a particular football player was at the forefront of providing food for the out of school children. So I think the government should work on reducing the level of poverty. I think once the level of poverty is reduced, the issue of quality education will be easy to tackle, because once you are not hungry, you are ready to learn. So as a nutritionist and as a farmer, as an agriculturist, food is important. It's an important way to develop your mental health and your body. So I think the government should also take it into consideration, probably providing meal for school children in the rural area, because the basic things they need is food. Once they have this food and they have other access to other basic stuff like books, and those ones are even primary. But once they have food and their body is well developed and their mental health and their brain is also well developed, they'll be ready and eager to learn. So I think you all have said what I want to say. I think that is my contribution.
Yeah, I think so. What's really come out of this first round of discussion is, and Coyote, I think you've re-emphasized it again, that unless and until we have a holistic approach to quality education, it's not going to be sustainable. It's as simple as that. And I think that also brings us to another very important issue or question, and that's the fact that we've all talked about different roles different stakeholders could play, be it at the local level or governments or private entities, and everyone needs to come together. It's not that any particular stakeholder is playing a role in isolation, right? If the government is implementing a policy, it's also important to understand and note what's really happening at the local level, who's taking responsibility at the local level. So it's sort of a design that gets created amongst various stakeholders. It's a design, it's a structure, it's a project that we're managing. And for that project to function, it needs to be financially viable, it needs to be scalable. So Ashley, I'd like you to comment that what are some of the challenges that are typically faced in such a project, that fails a project many a times.
So I would probably, we're looking at ensuring that the scalability and financial viability of spreading good quality education. One of the things that we really need to think about is it's not just about bringing in money. That's the thing. But also just figuring out how do we help build capacity and strengthen capacity at the same time. One of the things that that stands out for me is that a lot of projects will come in and they'll be like, oh, we need money to do this, and you'll find these huge funders coming in and they're like, okay, here's the money that you need to do this. But then there's actually, they haven't built capacity in a way that money will be used in a sustainable way. So for example, when you're talking about good quality education, you're talking about how have we created systems that are subsequent to the good quality education? If we are talking about funding a school, do we ensure that the school has water? Does the school have roads that lead to it? Do we have electricity? In this day and age of digital learning, do we even have internet bandwidth and staff that are actually well educated? When you look at staff capacity in Africa, you'll find that we have about 64% of primary school teachers and about 50% of secondary school teachers have minimum required training. That means the rest of them are probably just winging it. They just got a job because there's a job to be done, but they're not quite qualified for it. So when we talk about ensuring that these projects are successful, it's not about just bringing in the money, it's about building capacity. It's about making sure that at the end of the day, we're not just closing gaps. We are not just closing gaps, but we are ensuring that we scale in a way that is sustainable, so that 30 years from now, this project is still providing help to those people that need it the most at the end of the day.
I think spot on. I think that the last line really sums it up. Like, are we really closing the gaps for the sake of it? And I think just a follow-up question, since you really highlighted the challenges that are being faced when it comes to scale up such projects on quality education, what do you think are some of the very simple and fundamental solutions to the same issue?
I think some of the very simple and fundamental solutions, it's probably accountability. And I think that is one of the things that we fail at when we are trying to figure out about funding. So how do we fund and still make sure that we hold the people who have been given this precious commodity accountable in a way that they are able to make sure that they sort of like hold to their end of the bargain. I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have in Africa: accountability and making sure that people hold to the end of the bargain, and also just making sure that, I was recently watching, not just watching, but sort of like I was a part of the Global Education Summit, where the UK and Kenya committed to securing about $196 billion in domestic financing for commitment to education. But my biggest question at that moment was, how does it cascade down to those that need it the most? So we're not just also saying, yeah, that is coming, but the people that need the part of it is doing very simple things like after school programs, just making sure that you're able to, like, that every classroom is well stocked in a way that kids have books, they have very basic materials that you normally overlook. Just as one of my panelists said, food. How do we make sure that we have kids who are well fed? Because we normally have a lot of external school feeding programs, but how about creating capacity for internal school feeding programs so that kids are able to come to school, they can be able to be motivated to come to school at the end of the day. So those are just like very small issues that I think would be good to deal with as going forward when you're looking at financial capacity and also closing the gap of financial need.
No, I think that's a wonderful point, actually, that you made. I mean, my father also runs a school up to 10th standard. So I've seen there what kind of things that are happening, and also how can we make this finance, because that is a very important part, right? To run, and we are not just talking about school in isolation. We are talking about the I mean, all primary schools in the whole country. So on that front, I think it becomes very important to talk about financial viability, accountability, and the other stuff that you talked about. And also at the same time, I was just thinking that once we are looking at financing and also looking at economical aspect of this whole solution, can we kind of make it a youth movement, right? As you were telling that our schools are understaffed, our teachers are untrained, right? So on that front, if we take it as a community level problem, right? Every school is based in a community. There are few people, and I'm pretty sure in every community we have some kind of youth who had been educated well, and also maybe is willing to contribute to it somehow. I mean, in India, I don't know, you can talk about better in Africa. So in India, there are many programs like that in which youth are going to even the distant part of the country, maybe in parts where the tribal peoples are there. I mean, that are the very distant part of India, in all the corners. So there people are going and they are trying to do something, teaching them free of cost, and also spending a lot of time to them. So it not just in order to educate them, but also to empower them, to connect them to the mainstream, right? That is also a very big thing. So maybe what I think is that one of the solutions is also to make it education a youth movement so that everyone is involved until and unless these young people who are very tech savvy, they know how to use these digital things. And also in the backdrop of COVID, it becomes such important. So giving one more reason for youth to come forward and take it further. What do you think about it?
I think personally, it's a really good idea. I guess the biggest stumbling block to that would be to convince the youth that this is something that will be beneficial not just to them, but also generations to for generations to come. Because at the end of the day, we're also dealing with a sort of, like, I would call them, addition of very selfish human beings who, for them, giving back is not quite what is right on their mind. So the biggest question is, how do you sell or package this in a way that they see the need to do this, that they benefit, and they see that they have a chance to influence generations to come. So I think that would be the biggest thing to think about.
Yeah, I think that is one question. But I was again also thinking of one solution on that respect. I mean, what we can have is maybe when people are going for their bachelor's and master's, right, their undergraduates and graduation degrees. So obviously, I'm talking of a very big solution, and I'm not sure whether that can be implemented. But somehow, if the civil society, like people working with Jed Child Trust and also the other organization, right, civil society, they go to the government or even the state government or the local government, and they build a program in which, as a part of the curriculum, every graduate has to spend maybe 10 hours a semester or do some kind of credits just to give even every week 2-3 hours. I mean, I don't know whether that can be implemented, but in that way, and the interested people can take that course, interested people can join that organization. So starting from the schools and colleges only, right? Even if we see when the social media kings, right, Facebook and other people, they started their journey from universities, right, and then they scaled up. So why can't people based in colleges, they are just learning, and they're also identifying what is the major objective of education. So maybe from there it can become a revolution. I mean, I'm just putting it out just for your considerations, Parneet, and yeah, you can all comment. Kaidu.
I'm actually curious to hear what Panit thinks about. Yeah.
So I think that from making it a youth-led movement, we are actually, trying to make it a lifelong journey. We are promoting knowledge and education is a lifelong journey. And I think that that idea can revolutionize education system. When people feel compelled, their inclination towards this profession of teaching itself will build through this solution that Anurag proposed. And I think that that's an attitudinal change that will be brought about when if the government invests and brings this solution. And I think that one more problem with the education system in particularly in Africa, which Lukhani also brought it to light, was the child slavery aspect of it. That people, due to poverty, again, child slavery is one of the things that has led to less children enrolling and in the schools, and also dropping out. So how do we tackle that? In that aspect, we have to also look at structurally, at what are the structural problems in the society which are stopping people from even enrolling their kids in the school.
I would probably touch on that a bit. And I understand that it's a very huge problem in Africa, and it always stems down from because at the end of the day, when you're looking at the reason why this child is not going to school, it's they have to look for a way to fend for their family. They have to look for a way to look for money and food for their families. So we have to look at, I always say that poverty is very systemic. So it comes from the bottom, going all the way up. So if you're able to deal with systemic barriers, and that comes from, and unfortunately, this has to come from each and every government, because governments are the ones that create systems that will be able to make sure that you are able to remove roadblocks for poor people to be able to succeed. If you create an environment where people can succeed, people's businesses can thrive, where economies are doing well, then you're lifting people out of poverty. And at the end of the day, that means at the end of the day, kids don't need to look for food. They don't need school. But also the other thing is also figuring out how do you make sure these kids come to school, because if I think it's Coyote mentioned about farming and the school feeding systems, and I've seen it work in Kenya, especially. I've seen we have one probably it's a privately sponsored school feeding program, and it's doing very successfully across 3 different cities in 3 different towns in Kenya. And one of the things that I've realized when you look at the statistics from what they've been able to do is that they've been able to keep a lot of kids in school, because normally before then, because they were hungry and they didn't know where to get food from, that means they'd have to miss classes to go probably work in a market somewhere just to get enough for them to have something in their stomach. So if we look at things like this, a government can't basically do all these things, because as much as it has the money to scale and the capacity, sometimes politically people don't have the goodwill to do the things that they're meant to do. So that's where you find things, people like civil society organizations, the social sector, the philanthropists, the private sector coming in and saying, how are we able to fill in these gaps so that we don't have these kids moving forward, going to look for money instead of them being here in school? How are we able to sustain them? How are we able to sustain their feeding programs? How are we able to make sure that at the end of the day, they have the basics that they need to come to school with, like uniform, books, just very basic things. And that they're on the other hand, how are we able to make sure that their parents are sustainably employed for them not to send their kids out there to look for money and in turn they miss school? Yeah.
I think building on that, I have a solution to share with you. Maybe we can invest and show the parents that if they send their kids to the to schools, then they would be better off, in the sense that we have to show them tangible results. People cannot understand, especially when the people are illiterate, they cannot understand the relation between how can education impact them. So an investment in skill-based education along with a awareness program can really help us out in tackling this problem, because when you show them that these are the skills that are being imparted and how they can help them earn a better livelihood than what they're earning right now, that can really show people why education is important. So practical education as well as knowledge base, which helps build a competitive edge internationally, a fusion of those 2 aspects can help further education system in Africa.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point that Panit said after extending on Ashley's remarks. So I think that also brings us to the next question. And I think Ashley was also talking about stakeholders, right? We are talking about that governments can do this, and sometimes government are not able to do it, maybe because of various reasons. And once we are talking about grassroots awareness, right, we need different stakeholders, mostly from civil society. So I think that is a very important area for us to look forward to, and also look into how can all these stakeholders come together and strive for progress in this area. So Coyote, if you can maybe shed some light on it, if you have
Okay,
something to say.
Thank you so much. So I think basically for stakeholders, the NGO, so for them to be effective, firstly, they must understand that they do not have the same perspective as government officials, as who are in control. So if they do not recognize the government of the country they are working in, they will compromise their objective. So firstly, they must recognize the governments of the country they are working in, and they must always try to flow in line with the governments, because basically the private organizations, the NGOs, are there to fit into the shoes of the government to solve some of the problems the government were unable to solve. And in doing this, the government will think probably the NGOs are kind of doing the government work. They are kind of being in competition with the government. So basically, the first thing the NGOs should always recognize is the government. They must always be in line with the government. And also, I think with what Jed is doing, so it's a good initiative. It is a way the private individuals, the NGOs, the private stakeholders can help to provide quality education in Africa. For you said something about youth participation in quality education. So I think it is a very, very, very good idea. In Nigeria, there are so many organizations that does that. And there are so many university students that does that. I have a lot of friends that do that. Even Jed, I think that is what we want to do next. We want to take our sensitization to rural area. We want to give them role models. We want to pick out outstanding students. So I think these are some of the ways the private organizations, the NGO can also work. Bring out outstanding students who went through a lot in their education. Then there could be role model. It does not necessarily mean they are superstars or they are singers or footballers, or there could just be normal students who went through a lot in their education but still made it. These students can be a role model to others. So, and also through volunteering, through funding, through participation in different, just finding a way to fill in the gap where the government have left. So I think these are some of the ways the private organizations and private stakeholders can help to provide quality education. Thank you.
I think, really combining two aspects. I really love that we're already are talking about solutions here. It's wonderful how solution driven we are. And I think, Kayode, you mentioned a very important challenge that any particular design, if it's being created to solve a particular purpose faces. It's about how to bind all the elements together, because as you said, different stakeholders have different roles, they have different perspectives, and different level of accountability, of course. So that really calls us to really discuss on the fact that what would be the best, what would be the nature of the solution? What's going to be the nature of the solution? Like, is it going to be inclusive? If we talk about inclusivity, are we really deploying techniques like design thinking, which really brings all the stakeholders together, and the aspects of empathy? Or is there some other techniques or tools that we could use to really design these processes very cohesively? Ashley, what are your thoughts on that?
So I'd probably say that is where something like human-centered design thinking comes into play. So I basically work in the behavioral science field, and one of the things that we acknowledge when doing projects like this is we have to understand how people think, why people think the way they do, why they adhere to certain norms, whether behavioral or cultural or religious norms. And then once we understand why the human brain works the way it does for each and every individual, then we can be able to come and bring in solutions to that. So the thing about integrating solutions, it's not about coming and copy pasting what you've seen in another place, probably saying, oh my goodness, this works in the US, so it's going to work in Kenya, or it's going to work in Tanzania. No. There needs to be a fusion between what has worked out there and come and look at the local context and say, okay, so this is what works locally. So how do we fuse them in a way that will bring in results that will be plausible at the end of the day? So for me, when you're creating a design for quality education, we have to put those things in mind. We have to put the externalities and the internalities to be able to make sure that we merge them in a way that people get the best out of the solutions that we give them. Otherwise, we will be giving people blanket solutions, and at the end of the day, that doesn't quite work. And then we'll have to go back to the drawing board, which is costly in terms of time and money, of course, and say, oh my goodness, we need to do this again and again and again. So for me, I think design has to be human-centered at the end of the day. It has to be behavioral based at the end of the day, and then it has to have a local context to it to be able to succeed at every level. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Anurag?
No, I think CH covered all the points that I was going to see, but just one more addition is that if you just look at this whole solution process, every solution has two aspects, right? One is ideation part and the other one is execution part. So if you just look at this ideation part, I think it should be top down, because here we are talking about a whole system. I'm just talking about the ideation part as of now. So the whole education system can't be revamped overnight. So we need a structure, and structures are generally built by the government. So mostly they will come up with a very revolutionary kind of policy, and then they will, implement it all over the country or all over the continent. I mean, the world leaders can do that. So on that front, if we see the ideation, from my perspective, it's a top to down. But again, once it comes to implementation, it should be from the bottom up approach, right? As Ashley said, it should be very localized. It should not be a copy paste solution. It should be an adapted version of the solution that has worked in the other context. So on that front, I think once government ideates something, then local communities and the people who are working at the grassroots, the local government officials or the members of the civil society, if they come together, try to figure out how they are going to do it. I mean, let's look at one of the solutions, right? I mean, I was just reading about what are the problems in African education, and in some places I found this problem of language, right? What language they should teach, and what kind of training that the teachers have to teach to the kids, right? So on that front, if we see, I mean, what can work best in one scenario, it's very centric to that particular area. I mean, let's say in one state or in one province, the people think that, okay, maybe this is the best that if we talk in native, but let's say if a state is very close to a very big city hub or close to some other country, right? They can have certain different kind of needs. So the solution to these kind of problems should be people centric, human centric, as well as, I would say, area centric as well. So I think that is my take on it.
I think I can add to what Anurag has just spoken about. And I think the core element of having an education system that works and is of good quality is its ability to be iterative. So it's about building from one level to another. So if today we see, like, for example, I can give a Kenyan example, we have a new system that I completely hate, because I feel like it's not the most inclusive system we have in terms of education. And the government came up with this huge policy and they said, oh my goodness, we need to revamp the entire system at one go. And unfortunately, it started during COVID. So of course it got people off guard, and it's not the most, as I've said, it's not the most inclusive system, but this is their chance to be able to say, okay, so this is what is working for this system and this is what is not working for this system. So how do we build on what's working, and how do we iterate on what's not working so that we make it better for the next financial or educational year. So that's what I'm saying about being able to create a system that works properly and is of good quality, is its ability to be iterative, and I guess that's basically what we should be fighting for, especially as young people at the end of the day. Yeah.
I think it's wonderful how we're sort of breaking down the attributes of a perfect solution. And Anurag, you've mentioned about amalgamating both the top-down and the bottom-up approach, and Ashley is really talking about the iterative nature of the solution, because it's not going to be perfect. It's probably not going to be perfect ever, right? It's about getting better and better. Paneet, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
I think Anurag and Ashley have actually summed it up very well. But I think that capitalizing on the indigenous knowledge systems and creating an industry out of it, that will create a tangible, relation between imparting education and also employment. So if you want people, like you said, that we have to create people-centric knowledge systems. And in that sense, it is very important to understand what do people value the most. And if we build our knowledge systems around it and create an industry out of it, create education systems out of it, it will sustain itself. The skills that have been imparted, which are very unique to African context, they are going to sustain in Africa itself. Maybe we do not have to compete with other nations at all. Maybe we have to create an industry out of what we already have, especially in the changing climate, in the climate change context. The capitalizing on the sustainable education system, indigenous knowledge systems. We can create a new education system, especially coming, the focus is on sustainability and resiliency. That is going to be the norm now. That is the norm now. So that is something that I wanted to add to everything that you guys have shared.
So Panita, I have like a question on that front. And so when we focus on the indigenous systems, what is the role of globalization in that aspect, and how do we create a balance such that we are not now sort of like excluding ourselves from the rest of the world, but at the same time being able to say, okay, we want to keep what is unique to us as individuals and as a continent, but at the same time we want to make sure that we are globally competitive with everyone else. So I think I would want to know what your thoughts towards that. Yeah.
I think that in order to leverage the indigenous knowledge as well, you would require certain technologies for that. You would, you have to create business models out of that, and that where globalization will come in. And you have to capitalize on that. That's how both of these concepts are going to be fused, and they're going to create a knowledge system and an ecosystem which prospers and thrives.
Yeah, I think I would like to add a little bit more. So if you see traditional knowledge systems, I think as Parnit said, they are very, very important. I mean, if we see, I think African civilization is also very, very old. And I mean, I have knowledge about Indian civilization, not the African one. But what I can see is, if you just look at our forefathers, they had very special kind of, even let's say weaving, right? A simple thing as weaving, making rugs or things like that. Even if we see the sometimes the elements of water conservation, right? The way people used to conserve water in the places where there is water scarcity. So those people were very well advanced in technology, and I hope that in Africa also there are different technologies as well that very local people are working on, right? In India there are many kinds of sari making, right? The sari, the traditional wear for Indian women. So in that way, if we see, there are many places in India which are really good at it. I mean, people coming from all over the world come and buy it. But if we see what was happening in past few years, that whole industry was going down. People were not understanding, because obviously you have new machines, right? So who will invest in these handmade things? But now, as of now, what government is doing is, by promoting this Make in India campaign they have. So what they're doing is, Make in India, they're promoting the local people, but they are also trying to make it competitive by giving different kind of subsidies and all. And that's where government comes. And also what is happening, that even the youth is again coming up with all the technology enabled solutions. They are promoting it over the internet. People coming from other places just to visit this I mean, small industries in this very native places, right? Not in Mumbai or in Delhi or in big city. They're coming to remote places just to see these kind of developments. So I think that is a very good thing, where we can just try to capitalize on this on a national level, and maybe then try to make it competitive. I think that can be the second part of it.
So Anurag is basically saying that we should have Make in Africa. That approach is going to revolutionize and make Africa the world leader. And the problem that plagues Africa and Asian cultures is cultural appropriation. And this will be tackled when we have such initiatives and ecosystems. So yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, we've given birth to Make in Africa in this discussion. I mean, what could be more beautiful than that? Kayode, what are your thoughts on this entire concept of Make in Africa?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Can't really hear you. The network and I'm on transit. So sorry for that.
No worries. Am I audible to you?
Yes, no.
So Anurag actually shared this example of this program that runs in India. It's called Make in India, wherein it helps to encourage and facilitate startups or inventions or initiatives that are locally based in India. And that's when Parneet and Ashley, we've come up with an idea of Make in Africa. So what do you think about this entire idea of Make in Africa?
And it boils down to us. So it boils down to us. We also have people, we have innovative creations, we have innovative people in Africa. But I think one of the major issue we have in Africa is our over dependence on foreign products. So no matter how innovative, no matter how creative we are, we believe that whatever is brought into Africa is better than what we have. So I think the solution to this is we the youth. So if we have all it takes in our hand, we have the internet, we have the social media, just patronize made in African products, show it to the world, show that African can also make good things. Because the center of civilization, the Asian center of civilizations, where Africa was part of it. We have Egypt, we have Sudan, we have I think we have Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. So they made different innovations during their time. So I think we still have it in Africa, but the issue is we Africans believe whatever it is brought down to Africa is far better than what we have. So the solution for that is for us to patronize made in African products, made in Africa, show it to the world, and show that we are innovative and we are also creative in Africa.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for substantiating on that. And as much as I want this discussion to go on, but we're really overshooting time already. So, but before we wrap up, I would really want each one of you to share very quick closing remarks, and then we can probably open it up to Q&A if anybody in the audience wants to ask one or two questions. So very quickly, Anurag, let's start with you. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, I mean, we have already discussed about the different aspects of the definition of quality education, what can be probable solutions to it, and also how government and different stakeholders are going to kind of complement each other to solve this whole issue. But other than that, I mean, I was just thinking about how different governments or different countries in Africa also can help each other out. If we see, I mean, the evolution of European Union, right, that was totally based on economic aspects, right? But can Africa reach as a continent and as a group of countries to solve this whole problem of education? I mean, and also as we discussed in the very start, I think it was by Pani that she said that we can't solve exactly the SDG 4 until unless we solve SDG 1, 2, and 3. So on that front, I would like to just close my remarks that, I mean, the whole continent and also taking inspirations from other parts of the world, other developing countries which are doing better, and also learning few bits from here and there from the developed world as well, because we can't compete with them when it comes to resource aid, but obviously we can learn from their best practices.
Right. Ashley, why don't you go ahead now?
So I would probably say one of the things that I would wrap up with is education is the most important tool that will bring us out of poverty. And it is quite related to everything else that will make sure that we are able to move forward as a continent. On Anurag's point of coming together as a continent, I would say that is a good idea, but it's not the most sustainable idea, because we have 54 countries with 54 different governments and policies, and coming together is such a hassle. But we have small factions around Africa, the ECOWAS, the COMESA, the EAC, that has countries working together. But my closing remark is this: at the end of the day, we can be happy about all these things. We can be happy about bringing kids together, educating people. But I think the most important thing right now is to make sure that no child is left behind. And I think that should be our motto moving forward, saying, how do we ensure that all children are carried along this train, and at the end of the day, they are not, we don't have people who will look back and say, oh my goodness, we should have taken that along with us. Yes.
Well, no child should be left behind. Paneet, what is your take? What are your closing remarks?
I think that, Africa has to find its own strength and, chart its own way. It has to emerge as a global leader. It has to find what is so unique about it, and build its education system and give a competition to America, UK. I mean, Africa has that power. And I think that what I've realized is that the sustainable developmental goals actually help us envision in tangible aspects how we can solve this problem. So the partnership of all goals, which is goal 17, I think that the whole discussion leads us to that we all have to think about building economies, tackling poverty, tackling hunger in order to have quality education. So yeah.
Beautiful. Again, highlighting that holistic approach. Kayode, any last words from you?
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I would just like to appreciate Anurag, Paranit, Ashley, and also yourself, Ali, for your time and your contribution, and also helping us to find a solution to develop our continent. So I just want to say education is a driving force for every civilization. And education is the meeting point to reach global conglomeration. So for us to bridge the disparity, we must educate our younger ones. So, and it boils down to us, the individual, the private, the Africans, the youth. So we need to take it as our responsibility. We don't need to rely on the government alone to do it. We need to take it and take some of the ideas and initiatives we finally said, like going out and going to schools to teach children, then the issue also of providing foods. I think these are some of the way we individuals, we the youth, we the African youth can be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Thank you.
Wonderful. What's interesting is that I had written down a few points to summarize the discussion, and each one of you has covered all the points. I have nothing to say at the end. And you guys literally don't need a moderator. So, but this discussion also deserves to be open to the audience. So we're going to hold on for a few more minutes. If anybody in the audience has any question, anything to add, anything to comment, then please feel free to do so. We'll probably we probably have 2-3 more minutes. So yes, if anybody wants to say anything, please go ahead. And I think we already yes, Lukhani,
I can ask a question. Yes. Just very briefly, I know the Ghanaian president touched very briefly on this at the United Nations General Assembly. I would like to ask the panelists their thoughts on how can we ensure that Africa doesn't just become a resource hub, and we can ensure that the individuals and the countries within Africa prosper? Is it to build up the African Union? Because I know Angura touched very briefly on the EU and how instrumental that's been to Europe. So what would your thoughts be? Is it African Union to build that up, or is it to continue to collaborate with countries across the globe? Thank you.
I don't know, I would probably touch on that a bit. I think one important thing to realize is that the world as it is right now is interdependent, and we cannot stay in isolation in a way that we are not useful to anyone as much as they are useful to us. But then also I think we need to also come to a point as Africans and as African governments where we are not toothless dogs. We are not people who just give, and at the end of the day, we are not seeing the benefits that come from giving and giving of our resources in all capacities, because now we are giving of our resources in every capacity, including human capital. So I think one of the things is that we need to be able to come up with policies that state our role in making sure that we are able to manage our resources to the best of our abilities. And that means putting in a lot of money in issues such as manufacturing, so that we can be able to create value addition for the kind of resources and the products that we produce as Africans, and not just have these products go out there and then come back and get sold to us at a premium, yet the raw materials come from us. So I guess one of the things is that we should be able to create systems and capacities that we are able to create value addition to our goods and our resources, and whatever remains out of it for any reason we can be able to sit down and have a discussion with the rest of the world and say, okay, you guys can come in at this moment, but not just be able to give out every single thing and not be and not have capacity to be able to do something for ourselves and for our people.
Would anybody want to add anything to this? Coyote, would you like to add anything?
I think Saleh wants to say anything.
Not really. I think she has said it all.
Yes. I think Caleb wants to say something. Caleb, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. I really thank very much. I'm learning much. I have a question for panelist Pani from India. So my question is, now we know India were backwards some years ago in terms of education, and now in recent years we've seen them move to become one of the biggest IT giants in the world. So I want to know how was the move possible in terms of their educational sector, that they could move to a country that was once backward to a country that now has one of the biggest or some of the biggest IT companies in the world. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question? I couldn't make out bits of it.
No worries. I'll probably share what he was trying to ask. So he's just trying to say that he's wanting to understand that, you know, India was probably so much lagging in terms of education and also in terms of the output. Of course, if you invest in education, you get outputs like good economic growth in the long run and everything, right? So he's basically trying to ask that how did India become, or what were the key driving factors that helped India become such a great economy and improve its level of education over a period of time? That's what he's trying to ask.
Well, if we talk about India, I think that liberalization, capitalism and globalization actually helped India. But the context is entirely different here. So that are some of the reasons. And I think stimulus to the education system, like I mentioned, midday meal scheme, small schemes that were there. So focusing on imparting education to girl child, and schemes, certain schemes and sponsorships these have helped, build India as a leader, and has helped the focus on IT sector, especially, that has helped India to become a leader. So I think it's a cumulative of all the government policies that have taken place, and and strategic liberalization. It's not like the government opening up, but it's a very strategic way of partnering with the countries outside.
Caleb, I
May I go
hope that
ahead?
answers your question. Yes.
I would just
Sure.
Yeah,
Please go
I would
ahead.
just like to add where Punit's answer. So basically, I mean, Caleb's question was more towards IT, right? So if I see how India has particularly progressed in this area, if we see right after our independence in 1947, our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, his idea was to uh, set up some good educational institutions that are at par with those in US and also in other parts of the country, other parts of the world. So what he did was, in that time, he thought of, I'm also a graduate from those kind of universities. He established Indian Institute of Technology, and that he established with the help of US colleges, US government. So what happened in that, from that time onwards, you just think about 1950s. At that time, India was a very poor country, just came from this, uh, uh, from the British hands. And at that time, India was thinking about that kind of scientific progress. And during that time, they opened departments like computer science and information technology in that area. So from there onwards, it started that journey. And as Pernod said, after 1991, when we opened our economy, other countries, other institutions, other companies came to India, and India blind what each country to what the region was, and from there onwards, it kind of got multiplied a lot. So yeah, and I think they have now they're going for digital India. So I think that will again have a multiplier effect on this whole IT industry. So let's see when IT booms a lot as well.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for asking such wonderful questions. I'm sorry we don't have the space for any more questions because we're running short of time. So I think I would really like to thank all the panelists again, and the audience, because without the audience, the panel discussion is not complete. So thank you so much, all of you, for all of your inputs, for making this panel discussion a huge success, and for reiterating the very basic fact that we're all learning from each other, and how it is very important to ask ourselves if we are taking responsibility for the change that we all want to create together. So thank you so much, all of you, for your time. And with that, we wrap up this panel discussion.
Yeah, thanks Abhay for being the best moderator, and also the fellow panelists. I think you have all been very wonderful. And thanks a lot to all our audiences as well.
Yeah.
So can we take a quick
Yeah.
picture? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, we'll do a picture. We'll do a picture. Let us all on our camera so that we'll do a picture, a quick picture.
Yeah, Ashley is here. Abhay, if you're there, can you turn on your video?
Of course.
Others as well, if you can. Then we will take the picture.
All right.
Maybe we can take multiple from
Sorry,
everyone else.
let me look for a place.
Are we ready?
There so that we can take the picture. I'm coming.
All right.
All right.
Abby, did you hear that?
Yes, can we please switch our cameras on if that's possible?
Abby.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Abby, have you taken the picture?
I'll give a count of three. I'll give a count of three. 3, 2, 1. Victory.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I think I managed to take some pictures. Sorry.
Yeah, I've also
Anurag, I
taken a
think
couple of them.
that's wonderful. Thank you, Anurag, for having my back there. So we still have a couple of items to go. The conference has still not ended. We're going to be taking a very short break of 2-3 minutes. We have 1 or 2 more items before we wrap up the conference. So please stay tuned.
Ready for the biggest online conference, Jed Child Trust Online Conference 2021. The theme is Equal Access to Quality Education for Every African Child, a Panacea for a Better Africa. The date is Friday, 3rd December 2021. The time is 12 o'clock noon. Speakers and panelists: Joseph, Benmoon, Thompson, Ashley, Benho, Lukani, Kayode, Abha, Pawnee, Anurag, and many more. Don't miss out. Be a part of this conference. Register now at www.genchildtrust.org.
Education is one of the most powerful things in life. It allows us to find the meaning behind everything, and helps improve lives in a massive way. It also gives us an understanding of the world around us, and offers us an opportunity to use the knowledge wisely. Although, the roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is always sweet. A person who won't read has no advantage over one who can't read. Irrespective of race, creed, and gender, education makes it possible for people to stand out as equal with all the other persons from different walks of life. They say, knowledge is power. Information is liberating, but education is the premise of progress in every society, in every family. Overall, education is the platform that makes it possible to defeat all barriers. Man can learn nothing except by going from the known to the unknown. Join Jed Child Trust Foundation today. Let's help extend education to the rural areas. Let's say no to child slavery, child labor, dehumanization, abuse, and giving them access to their interesting motivation and protecting them against abuse and labor. Lukani is from the United Kingdom, and very passionate about ensuring youth are leading the way in global efforts and processes, and that the developmental process reaches the most marginalized populations. Lukani is a youth delegate at UNCTAD working towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. He is also the youth advisor to Stolen Dreams, a UK-based anti-modern slavery organization to end contemporary forms of exploration. Lukani has promised to work towards the United Nations Global Goals 2030 agenda with fellow United Nations UNCTAD youth delegates and young leaders across the globe, to leave no one behind. Ensuring that developmental progress reaches the most vulnerable and marginalized populations, especially the youth, to ensure that there is a proper development system in place for efficient reintegration, rehabilitation and inclusion of these young people into normal life, post-conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome, Lukani Rogo.
Hi, my name is Joseph Wamanam. I am the founder of the Jed Child Trust Foundation. It was an initiative I started while an undergraduate student in 2018. And we started by mobilizing fellow undergraduate students, and we visit the rural areas and the suburbs, try to teach the children who are in those areas, because we know that the African educational system is not so wonderful, and a lot of children are there wanting education but don't have access to education. And another major problem was the problem of infrastructure. I attended a public primary school, and during my public primary school days, I can remember studying under the shrubs of trees and classrooms that did not have roof, amazingly. And I know so many other African children are experiencing that. So while an undergraduate student, we started it as an initiative and it grew into this. The vision of Jed Child Trust is that we want to touch the lives of all African children, and we want them to have equal access to education. We want to empower them because once we educationally empower them, we have fed them. We cannot feed or reduce poverty without education, and that is what Jed Child Trust is committed to. And we are hoping towards working with organizations that are ready to partner with us, and we are hoping to grow the Jed Child Trust to touch a lot of lives in Africa. And I am happy you're watching this, and I can tell you, hi, please try to be part of the Jed Child Trust Foundation.
Hi, my name is Samuel, and I'm among the regional coordinator for the Jed Child Trust Foundation in the Southeast region. I'm here to tell you about the experience I had during the outreach the last time. So it was a challenging and good journey, though the challenging part was due to the bad roads and the lack of funds, mobility, and so on. I had to actually miss my breakfast just to be there. So it was a nice journey, and we got to a school that had no roof to cover the school and no decks and so on for the children to sit to learn. But it was a nice thing because the children there, they had the determination to education, so we had to reach out to them to make sure that they are okay and to try to give them the benefit to get proper education. So we're here to tell you to trust in us and join us because it's a nice journey. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Obika Ibere Victoria. I am the Regional Coordinator Southeast for the Jed Child Trust Foundation. We're here to talk about the challenges we face during our outreaches. It's a very wonderful, first of all, I'm proud of being part of this movement because right from my childhood, I've always wanted to touch lives and help the indigent people. Nonetheless, we are facing a lot of challenges from meeting up with time, and also the roads to some of these rural areas are so bad, very terrible, and we also lack funds. Sometimes we come out very early, missing our meals, but we all do it for a greater purpose, to make sure that we reach the African child wherever they are and impact on lives. So we are proud to be part of the Jed Child Trust Foundation, and we want you to also be part of the movement. Thank you.
Thompson Ching is an international speaker, youth diplomat and global education specialist. He is a founding member of the United Nations Conference on
Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's now understand one of the recent projects Jed has undertaken, which utilized essay writing as a means for inspiring countless children. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude towards all the essay judges, Eugene, Aisha, Mike, Jufair, and Harvey Spence. And I would also want to, I'm really grateful to have this opportunity with Harvey, who's here with us for an interaction. But before we interact, I would really request if we could show the teaser video for Harvey.
Abhay, a campus journalist all throughout his life. Harvey has been awarded multiple inter-school competitions in the field of feature writing during his high school years. He was also the editor-in-chief of the school's official publication for 3 years, from 2015 to 2018. Moreover, he was also appointed the same highest position for the school's official yearbook in the year 2016 and 2018. Now a psychology graduate in the Philippines this year, he was heavily exposed to technical and research writing. He graduated as the top of his batch and was awarded Class of 2021 valedictorian and summa cum laude, the highest distinctions given to remarkable students during their undergraduate program. Recently, he was able to join the UNCTAD Youth Forum. Furthermore, he runs his own advocacy on career and peer support. He also facilitates a support group of a Filipino NGO that is based in Australia. He is presently joining leadership programs to hone his leadership and coaching skills in both elite and regular settings. As of the moment, he is taking up a master's degree in counseling in one of the top universities in the Philippines, an institution that belongs in the top 1% in the world. Despite the awards received, Harvey remains steadfast, fun, and enthusiastic as a person. He believes that each one of us has the power to influence other people through our own actions. We must seize the chance to positively influence others to make the world a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Abhay Ahluwalia.
Hi, Harvey.
Hi everyone. It's a good day, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're absolutely
All right.
audible.
Hi, Abhay, and hi everyone. Allow me to share my screen. All right. So I'm here, and I'll be discussing about the essay competition which Jed Child Trust Foundation organized. So basically, there is this essay competition organized by Jed Child Trust, and Jed has come a long way. And as part of the program for its official launching, this essay competition is organized for students of tertiary and secondary schools in Nigeria. So what is this essay competition all about? So we wanted to focus on one theme, which will be the essay title for the participants themselves. So the essay title or the theme would be African Education, Strategies to Qualitative and Equitable Formal Education in Africa. So allow me to discuss briefly why is this theme. So I gathered 3 points here. Why this theme? So we believe that the theme that we have shown to you a while ago focuses on 3 things. Number 1, it's youth focus. So it emphasizes that we are the youth and we are the beneficiaries of formal education. So through formal education, we can make Africa a better place by centralizing on our identities, stories, and narratives. So that's basically being us as the youth, and the theme focuses on us as the youth in contextualizing education, how we can better formal education in Africa. The second point here is strategy focus. If you notice on the theme, one of the words there is strategy, and we are improvising actions addressing real world problems, and that is education that lacks quality and equal access. We can make Africa a better place by highlighting relevant solutions and the means of achieving it. So that's the second point. The third one is future focus. So we are slowly realizing a greater world where education can be sustainable and accessible to every children in Africa and even all over the world. We can make Africa a better place by thinking about what we want to change for the future. And I think these are the 3 points that would really highlight the theme for the essay competition. Now, moving forward, we have a guidelines. Actually, it's posted or it's there in the poster, but I'll just reiterate for more clarity. So number 1, participants must be a secondary school student going to school in Africa or an undergraduate student from any African tertiary institution. The second one is participants must be an active follower on all our social media pages and passionate about the work that we do, specifically at Jed Child Trust Foundation. The third one is name of the participants should not appear on the body of the essay, so we don't attach our biases or anything else. So it's just purely your output or your product, your essay itself. The fourth one is your essay must not be more than 700 words, and it uses Times New Roman, uses 12 font size, and follows a double line spacing or 2.0. So next is essay must be uploaded as a Microsoft Word document or PDF attached to the submission portal on the JED website at www.jedchildtrust.org. Next, of course, plagiarized work will automatically be rejected and the candidate will be disqualified because plagiarism is bad to begin with. So the deadline for submission will be on February 14, 2022, 2022, at 11:59 p.m. West African time. And all submitted essays that meet the above criteria will be thoroughly read by the judges, and of course, names of those selected for the awards in each category will be published. Moving forward, the essay competition criteria focuses on 4 areas. These are the following: organization, key points, analysis and insights, grammar and language. So on behalf of the judges, this is how we will rate the essay that is passed on to us. So for our organization, the topics within the essay, that would be 20 points. The key points for the topics that are introduced itself in the essay would be 40 points, and the analysis or the personal insights the writer has made, which is reflected in their essays, would be 25 points, and of course the grammar and language, which is understandable, would be 10 points. So of course, this is a competition, so there will be prizes. So for the tertiary category, and same with the secondary school category, they are actually the same. So the first prize gets 100,000, second prize 75,000, and third prize 50,000. And winners will receive an ambassador position with Jed Child Trust Foundation for 1 year and will be eligible to attend the Jed Child Trust Foundation #Unequal Sensation campaign in South Africa. So this actually ends my part. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys will submit your entries, and we would love to hear your outputs, and we would love to know more about your ideas and your insights. So that would be all, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Harvey, for giving such an elaborate introduction to the entire competition. I wish I could participate in the competition, but I'm not eligible.
Yes, Abhi. Me too,
I'm
actually.
sure, I'm sure the audience is very excited about the competition. But at the same time, I really feel if somebody has any doubts about the competition, feel free to ask, because we have Harvey for a few more minutes. If there's any doubts with respect to the entire concept or some rules or guidelines or anything, feel free to ask Harvey right away. You can also put it on the chat or raise your hand, and then I can ask you to speak up. So, right, we have a hand raised. Yes, please. Why don't you go ahead? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for receive an acknowledgement.
Yeah, sorry, I can't hear you. Can you repeat? O.soft. I think he's probably having some internet issues. Okay, we have another hand raised. Akinyenka. Akinyenka, why don't you speak up?
Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, sir. So, concerning what he said the deadline is February 14, but then what was written on the flyer was December 1. Please, can you justify that?
Okay, good question. We actually changed the deadline because we realized that we wanted to have more submission, more outputs from from possible contestants. So we would like to move that. That's why we moved it up until next year so that we can give more time for the writers to write their thoughts as well. So I hope that answers your question. Who was that? I'm sorry. Rebecca.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think that also answers the question on the chat by Joshua. Any other questions? Oh, Joshua has asked another question. So he's asked if in case someone has already submitted, can that person resubmit the essay? Is that a possibility?
Okay, actually, this is a good question because I wasn't aware about this possibility. So right now, I would love to have Joseph to answer this one so that Joseph can give more clarity on this. Joseph, are you there? Joseph?
Let me try to
all right.
unmute him.
Oh, okay. I think he messaged me. Yes, you guys can resubmit your outputs. So I hope that answers your questions, Joshua. And we can't wait. I personally can't wait to read them. But of course, I wouldn't know who that is. But yeah, looking forward to your resubmission.
Wonderful. That's happy news, I guess, for so many who want to improvise.
Exactly.
Great. So, oh, Fabrice, you want to say something?
Yes, please. Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank Jed Trust Foundation as I see how they are investing in education, and in Africa, education is the basement, even in the world, that can change the world. And through education, everything is possible. That's why young people are proud to see how they are involved in. And I think UNESCO is also working with young people who have organization that can contribute to the education improvement in their community so that Africa can be developed, and Africa is priority for the next 7 years until 2029. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fabrice, for sharing what you really feel. So Harvey, I think we're sort of done with the questions. I don't see any other questions coming up, but before you leave, any expectations or anything you'd like to share before you leave?
I would say that I'm really looking forward to the essay competition. This is one way wherein people can gather their thoughts in order to really suggest to things that matters to them the most, which is actually education. So I hope this essay competition would hone your skills more into thinking critically how you are going to address problems in relation to education. And I think that's it, Abhi. I'm really looking forward to their outputs, and I look forward to learn from their outputs, because I'm pretty sure those submissions and resubmissions are worth the shot, are worth the additional amount of knowledge. So I think that's it, Abhay, and I really wish everyone here to have a good day today, and happy Friday, everyone.
Thank you so much, Harvey. It was so wonderful to have you share about the essay competition, which is going to empower so many people. Thank you so much for your contribution. And a happy Friday to you as well.
Thank you, Abhi.
So as much as I don't want this conference to end, but we're actually at the culmination stage right now. I would really want to invite Joseph to share his word of thanks or some words, some remarks before we close this conference. Joseph?
Abhay, a campus journalist all throughout his life. Harvey has been awarded multiple inter-school competitions in the field of feature writing during his high school years. He believes that each one of us has the
Joseph, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we've been awaiting your vote of thanks. Last words from you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Abby, and thank you, Javi, and thank you, everyone. At this point, I think it's time for us to call it a day. And I am so grateful that this conference came to an end this way. Initially, when we started, we were really struggling, and that is the African factor. In the African factor, you have to contest with the issue of electricity, the issue of mobile data and all that. But we were able to conquer that, and we are really proving that African and Africans have a future. We can really do greater things. And I am so happy that you are here. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your patience. And for the essay competition contestants, I wish you good luck in your essay writing. We really want everyone to participate, and that is why the team said that we need to extend it. And there were a lot of questions raised, questions of how many, what are the number of words, is it less than 700? And a lot of people were having difficulty submitting, and then we decided that we have to extend it. So we thank you for your patience for that, and we thank you for being part of Jed Child Trust Foundation. And in conclusion, I will tell you, please follow us on all our social media pages on Jed Child Trust Foundation.
and also visit our website. Always subscribe to our newsletter on jedchildtrust.org, and also promote Jed Child Trust Foundation. We are trying to impact the African child's life, and we are trying to make a difference in Africa. So you can also make a difference in Africa by helping out and promoting what Jed is doing. We don't really have any other special thing. We are just a team of youths who wants a better Africa, and we are working towards a better Africa. You can still be part of us. You can volunteer with us. You can start up something in the name of Jed in your local area. We are ready to support you in whatever way we can. And I believe everybody in Jed or the Jed team are also ready to support you in any way they can. So I thank you for being part of this program, and for the essay contestants, I am so happy you are here, and I wish you good luck. I know you will make it. I know that you'll be part of it. I know you will be the person to win if you write well, if you do well. I think Javi will judge very well, and the best of you will be chosen, and you will be there live in South Africa for the Jed Unequal sensation and all that. So for those who have submitted, as Avi has pointed out, please resubmit. Do not submit with your name, but rather submit your essay with the details on our webpage, and then we'll be able to grade it. Do not put your name on your essay so that our judges can be as transparent as possible. So having said that, I think Abe, you did wonderful. The moderation was wonderful. I think Abe, you are mighty. I know you graduated top of your class. I can see your brain radiating all through. Pani, you are wonderful during the panel, right? Likewise, Anurang, Fabrice, I can see you, Ahmed, you all did well. Ashley, and above all, Gabrielle was there, and our partnership with Gabrielle was really wonderful. It was impactful, and I think it means we are moving to really touching a lot of lives. So I thank you all who are there. Ben Moon, I thank you, Ben. I know your hard work. I understand your situation. I still thank you. And every other person who made out time to be here. For those of you who participated from the beginning to the end, somebody like I saw Odu Sunday, I saw Caleb, he has been here all along and managing with us. I thank you very much. Just be part of Jed's story, and I can promise you, you will not regret it. Jed will really touch the life of Africans. I think I'll call it a day there. Abby.
Thank you so much, everyone. Please take care.